Evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the Conversation 98. Truly excited and happy to be back again this week, and I'm happy to be here before you today. Man, I know a lot been going on. Everybody getting ready for summertime, and again, just excited about being back in the building. And I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight. Really looking forward to the conversation tonight. Had a lot of fun this week. Really been enjoying my kids, and I know back home, a lot of people are dealing with a lot of hot and humid weather down back home in Alabama, and I'm enjoying the nice weather that we have up here, up in northern New York. But again, man, thank you guys so much for rocking with me. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. Means more than what you probably already know. But the one of the things I do want to say is, hey, love on your people. Love on your people. We don't know the day nor the hour. Just love on your people. Spend time with the people in your life, the people that means the most to you. Let's not get so caught up into chasing things and prioritizing the wrong things that life will pass us by and we don't enjoy the moment. So I just wanted to just simply say that just take the time to enjoy the moment. Take that time to enjoy the people in your life, the people that means the most to you, the people that do the most for you, the people that support you, the people you know you can depend on. Take that time to love on them and be there with them and support them. Because, you know, one thing we don't want to do is find ourselves in a position to where those people are gone and we have to live with the guilt of not saying what we wanted to say when we had the opportunity. So I just wanted to just share that with you guys, and we're going to get right on with the conversation for tonight. Sharing this with a few people and a few more, and then, hey, we're going to get right on with it. Again, tonight is a good night. We're already in July, so we're really in month 7 already for 2023. Time stops for no one. But again, with all that being said, feel free to share, feel free to comment. It's an interactive conversation, and we won't be before you long. But I did. Usually, I wait within the week's time. Usually, either a day or two or something when the topic that will come to me. But this topic was given to me literally on Sunday, on this past Sunday. And I was looking at something and I had a conversation with my mom and I was like, dang, this right here is something that I really needed to talk about. So we're going to get right on to it. We're going to talk tonight about something. Sometimes we're too wounded to realize that we have to learn to receive and accept love. And I say that because if we really be honest with it, a lot of us don't, or I would say don't realize, or we haven't taken the time to realize how wounded we are based off of our past experiences. And sometimes we can have the very thing that we seek or we desired, or we can pray, we even pray for it. We can have the people in our lives that loving us and there for us, and but we aren't mentally prepared to receive it. And a lot of times it's hard for us to even recognize that, because guess what? We get into survival mode and we just hey, I'm just trying to survive. But in that survival, what we don't do is we build a barrier that we push a lot of people away. And we have to really work towards being in a mental place to be able to receive and accept love from others. We have to get to that space because it's not an easy place. That's not an easy place. And I know many times we don't like talking about this, but this is why I wanted to talk about it, right? Because if you think about it, when you're hurt and when you've been hurt before, to say you got a cut or you got a cut or you've been, you got a cut, a deep cut, a cut that maybe takes you to have some stitches or something like that. That cut hurt. And what you do is you're going to do everything in your power to protect that cut. Because guess what? You don't want anybody to hit it. You don't want anybody to get close with it. You just wanted to protect it and give it the space to heal. But the problem is, many of us from an emotional standpoint, we just stay in a space to where we don't even recognize that we wounded. Because that us being wounded has become our normal. And that normal really is not a healthy place, but it's a place that we went to out of necessity. And within that necessity, right, what we don't realize is that a lot of times, we aren't even mentally prepared to receive and accept love from others. Even though people can give it, they're giving us the best of them, we still can't accept it. Right. And that's something that we really have to work on. We really have to work on. And I said it before, but it's something that I will say again, right? You know, we really have to take the time to heal and really do and examine ourselves and look internal about what are those things that I'm wounded on, not those things that I just said I'm gonna move on from because I'm being tough and I'm just living life. But what are those things that I'm wounded on, so that, guess what, I'm not approaching that whatever I'm wounded with, I'm not approaching that area in my life with wounded heart or wounded ears. Right? Because when we approach things with a wounded heart or wounded ears, right, a lot of times we don't operate well. We don't make good decisions, right? We make decisions that are based out of fear. When we don't deal with that, we don't heal in those areas, and we walk in wounded. And I would tell you, a wounded ear, a wounded heart, or a wounded eye will always perceive something to be the worst case scenario, even if it's being offered from a good place, even if it is something that you actually prayed for. If you're looking at it from the wounded ears, wounded heart, and wounded eyes, it'll be messed up. It will definitely be messed up. And I can say that I said that before. I shared that before, where there was a time where my parents called me. I was a single dad. My parents called, and my mom and dad was just simply say, "Hey, look, we've been praying. And if you need to bring, if you want to bring Robert, my son at the time, single dad, you want to bring Robert down, hey, we'll take him for it for you." Even though I needed it, because I was hurt, because I was wounded, the thing that I heard in that moment was, I heard not, "Hey, Robert, we know that we're here to help you if you need us." That's not what I heard. What I heard was, "Robert, you need to give us Robert, your son, because you're not a good enough father. And this is too much for you." In reality, it was too much for me at that time. In reality, it was too much for me because I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. I was dealing with anxiety. I was just overwhelmed. I was in a space where I was wounded that I couldn't even see straight. And I got angry at my parents, who were there to offer me help. They were there to help me, not to hurt me. But I got upset at them because they was offering me help, because I was looking through it. I was hearing them from wounded ears, wounded eyes, and a wounded heart, right? That's why it is so important for us to get to a space to where we can recognize that we're wounded. We got to acknowledge that, hey, look, I'm wounded in this area. We got to acknowledge that, you know what? Hey, guess what? I haven't healed from my dad not being there. I haven't healed from my mom not being there. I haven't healed from being disappointed by people who said I can trust. I haven't healed from the traumatic experience that I had. And we grow up and we create these environments to where, you know what, we just gonna push through it. But we don't realize that by us not dealing with that, right, we're really walking wounded, and we're reacting to everything. And a lot of times your reaction can be the very same behavior that will push the blessing away that God has sent into your life to be a blessing to you. You got that husband, you got that wife, you got that friend, they're there to really help you. But because you're too afraid to deal with that wound, you push them away out of your fear of being exposed. And many of us, we do that. Many of us, we do that. We do that with people in our lives. And we wonder why we always seem to find ourselves in the same place at the same space year after year after year, right? And the sad thing is, many of us, we allow our kids to grow up in that environment to where we don't deal with our wounds. So our kids become casualties of our own trauma, because they have to grow up in that environment. So because you are too afraid to deal with that wound, right, we don't even understand that. That's why it's hard for you to receive and accept love from others. And we try to do our best to pour into those that we love, but it's hard to give love when we are wounded by what we're carrying. It's hard to pour love out from a cup that is empty, or a cup that has holes in it. And the cup that we have has a lot of holes in it because we haven't taken the time to mend those wounds. And we are pouring the best out of us into our kids, but we don't understand why it's so tiring. Why we are operating in a sense of dysfunction? Because guess what? We are too afraid to address the fact that I'm wounded. Address that wound so that you can heal, so that you can accept and start receiving love. Accept and start receiving love. And I'm telling you, look, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. There are many of us who have a hard time being in relationships with people because it is hard for you, or it's hard for us to accept or receive love from others. Why? Because we haven't dealt with the wound of our childhood. So if somebody just being nice and being genuine, you always in your mind, oh, that's something. No, because what somebody else did to you, you're judging them based off of somebody else's action. So in the back of your mind, you just can't receive it because you're expecting them to act like somebody else, what somebody else did. And the reality is, how fair is that to that person? They ain't had nothing to do with what that person did or didn't do for you. But instead of you just be able to receive it and accept it, you always looking at it from a perspective of you thinking somebody going to get over on you. And you spend all of your time, energy, and effort thinking, convincing yourself that somebody will get over on you. So the soonest little thing that looked like that, oh, that's what it was. And that's not it. That's not it. We end up running a lot of people away who were meant to be blessings in our lives, all because we don't want to recognize that we're too wounded to accept the love and accept the receive and accept the love from those people. Those people are there genuinely there for you, but because you're too wounded from what happened to you, what somebody else did to you in a relationship, what somebody else did to you in your childhood, what somebody else did this, that, and the third in your life, you're too wounded to just simply say, you know what? Yeah, that didn't have nothing to do with that. I need to address that. And the reason why, a lot of times, the reason why we're afraid to even acknowledge the wound is because we have convinced ourselves that there's nothing wrong with us. In reality, that is something definitely wrong with you. And it's not a bad thing, but that impacts you. That is a hindrance, and it's okay to get to a space to where we can acknowledge that this is hindering my present, and I'm going to deal with it so I can overcome it. I will make a decision to choose to deal with it so that I can overcome it, because I am tired of this impacting my now. I'm tired of it impacting my now. And that is something that, we talk about these things. We've talked about it. Not to say we can have conversations, but, a lot of us are afraid to address things from our past because in our mind, it's too painful to revisit them. So we suppress it. And by us suppressing it, right, we feel like that suppression, because I bury it and I don't deal with it, that I'm good with it. But it always come back up in different situations. And guess what? They usually manifest themselves into those close, intimate relationships that you have. They'll manifest themselves in your relationship with your spouse, with your significant other, with your children, right? They'll manifest themselves even in the workspace. And a lot of us, what we do is we are too afraid and we don't want to deal with those wounds, right? To where we just always on guard. And we tired, but we just keep pushing, but we tired. And then guess what? We irritated by everything, people and everything. And people got to deal with that every day. But then we don't even want to recognize that, hey, guess what? The issue lies with me. The issue lies with you. The issue ain't everybody else. Everybody else ain't on edge. The reason why you're on edge is because you don't want to deal with it. And sometimes we just have to say, you know what? I'll say this. Sometimes we just have to say, I'm wounded. Sometimes we just have to say, you know what? My mama did hurt me. Sometimes we just have to say, you know what? It did hurt me for my daddy not being there. And not just try to overcome that by just simply saying, you know what? Yeah, I know my daddy wasn't there, but I ain't need him. No, you survived. Right? And you got to where you at, but that bothered you. And it's okay to say that, because now you can start addressing it and dealing with it for what it is. And now you're not going around with this chip on your shoulder and expecting other people to compensate for that chip just because you were too afraid to deal with it. You know, a lot of marriages would be healed if people just simply start dealing with wounds that they had from it. A lot of relationships would be healed if people just start simply dealing with wounds that they had from their past and say, guess what? That happened to me. I'm going to deal with it and grow from it. They are just as simple as that. It is as simple as that. But the reality is we don't realize, and a lot of us don't realize the impact that has on not only ourselves but others around us. You know, the one thing that I do know, one thing that the enemy wants you to do is he wants to convince you that you are okay and for you to accept to walk with things that you haven't been healed from, because he understands that if you haven't been healed from it, it can continue to be pop up and be a stronghold in your life, right? And it has the potential to not only impact your life, but impact the lives of those that you come in contact with. And it has the biggest potential to destroy those relationships that are meant to come into your lives to elevate you, to take you to another level. And many of us will find ourselves living with the regret of destroyed relationships, all because we were too afraid to deal with and acknowledge the wounds that we had and how those wounds impacted our ability to receive and accept love from others, the people that were there to help us, people that was there to help us grow, to help us heal, to help us overcome a lot of things. You know, those are the type of things that we don't a lot of times talk about. You know, we say these cliche things like I'm blessed and highly favored. We say these things and these cliche Christian things like, you know, the Lord, I got the favor of God on my life. And what we look at, we exercise the, you know, just because we are good and we exercise discipline in certain areas in our lives, and we'll reap the benefits of that. We can reap the benefits of being financially disciplined and reap those benefits. We can reap the benefits of being disciplined in other areas and reap those benefits, right? But that doesn't mean that we still don't have to work or areas in our lives that we got to work on. That still doesn't mean that we don't have to overcome certain things. And a lot of us, we're highly successful in areas, but we don't deal with those areas that we are afraid to deal with, because guess what? They seem too painful. And I don't want to go back to that wound. But guess what? You're not going to be where you think that you are. Your life is not going to be made whole, right? Until you start dealing with those wounds that you are running from. And you're not going to overcome those things that you think you're going to overcome until you're willing to deal with the root cause or the deep wounds that you've been trying to cover up. You're not going to be able to overcome that. And I say that because, you know, there's a lot of things like, you know, no matter what accomplishment that you can accomplish in your life, no matter what position that you make on your job, no matter how much money that you make, no matter what status that you have, right? No matter what that you can accomplish in this world, academically, professionally, personally, it does not matter what you can accomplish. It will never compensate, right? It would never fill the void of an unaddressed wound. And many people attempt to try to use those external things and those achievements as a way of getting them to not address or run away from dealing with the wound. And the thing about it is that wound that you are running from eventually will leave a trail of tears with everybody that had to be connected with you because you're running, right? You need to make a decision that I will deal with that so that I can be made whole. That is why many times in the Bible, Jesus asks, will thou be made whole? He didn't say, will I deal with that, address that issue? And even the man that had that was sick by the pool of Bethesda, Jesus, he was there for 38 years. Jesus asked him, will you be made whole? You know, the woman at the well, he just asked her, will you be made whole? And I love that wholeness, because we can highlight those areas in our lives to where, you know, that we're good at. And there's some areas in our lives that everybody's going to be comfortable with. I mean, that's just a reality. There's some areas in my life that I'm strong, very strong in certain areas in my life. There's other areas in my life that, you know what, I need some help in. I need some accountability. I need some help in, right? Those are the things, those are the areas that we all have, those different areas, right? I can try to rest on my laurels as far as in those areas that I'm strong in and try to champion those. But guess what? If I don't never work on the other areas in my life, right, I can highlight that and put on that front to other people. But behind closed doors, I know I'm toe up from the floor. And it is so freeing to just say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And a lot of times when we make that decision to do it, what we'll realize is it's not as hard to deal with it or address it than what we gave credit to it for. It's not hard. What's going on, Laramie? We got Laramie said, good evening. Good evening to you. What's up, Portia? Hey, Portia, how you doing? Hey, Roberta, she said, you talking right. Hey, you know, that's just the reality of what it is. And I just say this, and I'm talking about that in certain areas, you know, if many of us take the time to really seek out to heal, like really heal, especially before going into relationships, we'll find out that a lot of the issues that we have, a lot of our irritations that we have, a lot of our frustrations that we have with our significant others, right, is really is really rooted in our own insecurities, our own issues, right? And we expecting them, subconsciously expecting them to compensate from our unaddressed issues, you know. And then start asking yourself this question, like, why do I need, like, why does it have to be this way? Why do I view it that way, right? Why does this upset me in this manner, right? And it may just be because your daddy wasn't there, right? So in your mind, you feel like no man going to be there, or your mom wasn't there. In your mind, you feel like you can't trust no woman. So your actions are controlled by those insecurities, and we can change that. We can change that just by simply saying, you know what, I'm going to address it. I'm going to do something about it, right? I'm going to work on me. I'm going to work on me. So I thank you guys for rocking with your boy tonight. Hopefully this was helpful. I look forward to having these type of conversations. I just hope that if somebody ever just see this and they are dealing with something, right, and they are finding themselves trying to find a place of balance in their lives, right, and they find themselves, this is, thank you, you know, if you ever find yourself in a place to where you struggle to receive and accept love, because in the back of your mind, it either seems too good to be true, or there's trust issues that are there because of damage that was done by the actions of other people, it's time for you to heal and address the wounds or what happened before. Because is it fair that you walk through life judging other people based off the action of one person? How fair would you feel if somebody did the same to you, right? So the thing that we need to do is get to a space to say, you know what, I'm going to address my wounds so that my wounds of my past don't have an impact or say so in my present. And that is so powerful to get to that space, because once you get to that space, that's when you can really open up the door to start receiving and accepting love from other people and grow in your life. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. I wish you guys the best. You guys be safe out there. Much love. God bless. See you guys later.